Welcome to all of you. It's great to see you all here and to have the opportunity to meet with you. A number of you have already had the opportunity to have a chat with before this meeting, and hopefully more of you I'll be able to connect with afterwards. And I'm so pleased that we have this opportunity to meet and to talk about how CareSuper is looking after your super. You have a very long relationship with your superannuation savings. And of course, they are hugely important in terms of ensuring comfort and security in retirement for you and your partners. You need to feel confident that your super fund is well run and that we will take good care of your savings and that we can help you to plan for your retirement. And it's important for you to know that our sole focus is to act in your best interests. I'll tell you a little bit about CareSuper, about the board and how we govern the fund. In the past year, we've celebrated CareSuper's 30th birthday. So that takes us all back 30 years to the era of the mid-80s, to very bad perms, very big shoulder pads, and also an era when there was a lot of campaigning to spread superannuation to employees who at that stage missed out. Before these campaigns in the mid-80s, only 40% of the workforce had access to superannuation. And that was mainly just in the public sector and in big corporations. And women were particularly disadvantaged. Only 25% of women had any super. CareSuper was reformed in 86 to receive the new 3% award superannuation payments that became available for many workers at that stage as a result of those campaigns. However, award super didn't reach everyone. There were still gaps and many still missed out. So the government agreed to introduce legislation to pay that 3% in 1992, and that's what we all now know as the superannuation guarantee. The super guarantee was also legislated to slowly increase from that fairly small 3% up to 9%, which it did by 2002. And from 2009, it was meant to progress to 12%, although this has been delayed, and super contributions will remain at 9.5% for quite some time now. It is in fact still worth noting that some people miss out on receiving superannuation guarantee payments, and they're notably people who are self-employed, who are not compelled to have superannuation guarantee payments made, and also some part-time and casual staff. So if you fall into those categories, either generally or at some stage of your working life, it's important that you think about continuing your superannuation contributions and your savings for retirement. And there is also a general concern, a growing concern, about the persistent gap in the super savings of men and women. Now, I sort of refer to that history of superannuation for a couple of reasons, and the first is to illustrate, which particularly to young people, but to all of us, to recap that super's not been around all that long for everybody. That it's not a mature system, hasn't yet reached 12%, and many of the people, particularly nearing retirement, and particularly women, haven't had super for long and haven't had a lot of super for a long time, receiving only 3%. So you hear all these sort of newspaper things in the media. You hear, oh, you need $1 million. And then it seems to make people feel inadequate if they don't have a balance of that size, when that is just not fair and not correct. And the other thing to note is that balances much, much, much smaller than $1 million can make a huge difference to comfort and security in retirement, because super works with the age pension where necessary. The other reason I share some of that history is to firmly place CareSuper in the category as an industry super fund. One of those funds that came out of that campaign for social equity, for the spread of super to all workers. And we are a super fund that was created predominantly to service those who work in the private sector. We are now not just limited to those original awards where we had the 3% introduced, but we're also now what's called a public offer fund, which most funds are. And that means that anyone can now join CareSuper, but the most important thing for us is also that our members can stay with CareSuper no matter where they end up working. So if they change jobs, you don't accumulate more superannuation funds. The other thing about industry super funds is our basic philosophy, which is that we're not conflicted or distracted by other business objectives. We specialise in super and we're only focused on our members, as we're not trying to make a profit for anybody else. Industry funds are often referred to as not-for-profit or profit-to-member funds. So when you think of that, you might think, well, aren't you meant to make a profit? You're meant to make our super savings grow. Well, of course we do. We work very hard in the investment sphere to make a profit, but we make the profit for you, and we're not compelled or expected, nor can we, deliver any of that profit back to a parent company or to shareholders or others. The success of the industry fund model is demonstrated by our consistent outperformance over the past 20 years, 30 years, and our domination of top quartile investment returns for our members. CareSuper is consistently in the top quartile and indeed often in the top 10. And long-term investment is a significant key to our success, and our current default fund model, like where people get put by employers, who are the default funds, that's been important in allowing us to make very long-term investments that are in your best interest, things like infrastructure and property, as well as other forms of investment. Another strong foundation of why CareSuper has done well for you is our governance. And that has been a bit of a key to our success over the last 30 years. We've a board that understands and cares about our members and their employers. The board's made up of independent thinkers who have a wide range of professional experience and qualifications. The directors are nominated 50% to represent members and 50% to represent employers. And we're also proud to say that we have gender parity on the CareSuper board. Every decision, as I've said, is driven by our consideration of what is in the members' best interests. Our board operates 6 committees, and that's so that we can focus on important matters and be innovative and ensure that we are meeting all of our regulatory obligations, which are extensive. And so should they be when your retirement savings are at stake. Super fund directors' legal responsibilities are very significant. Our directors are paid by CareSuper, but they're not employed by CareSuper. The role of the board is to approve the strategy of the fund, to set that governance framework through an extensive set of policies, and to oversight the management. Superannuation is quite complex. We have to cover issues to do with investment, insurance, administration, communications, advice, a whole plethora of matters. Whilst many of these matters are delegated to our management, the board, and through our committees as well, still has responsibility for much decision making. And in some instances, that's required by the regulator. The board tries to keep the fees as low as possible whilst delivering good investment returns, responsive quality services, and ensuring that we communicate well and retain our members. We have a CEO who makes sure that we have quality staff, we engage expert advisors, and we thoroughly assess all of our outsourced service providers. We're transparent, which I think is a really important aspect of how we operate. So we're transparent in the way we do business, and you can find information about the fund, about the board, about individual members of the board, about all of those policies that I referred to, about what the committees do. All of these things you can find on our website, you would also find helpful information, obviously, about super and how to manage your savings. So please, I would encourage you to look at the website, to look up any information that you're interested in at a later date. And I would finally conclude that CareSuper, I've been in this industry a long time, and that's because I believe in it and I believe in what we do, and we truly operate in our members' best interests.